right? So yesterday we created a Node.js project. So to create Node.js project, what is the command? npm init-y. So whenever you are giving this npm init-y, it is creating a file called package.json. Inside the package.json, you can have different kind of dependencies. So we need a TypeScript compiler. So for that, we are running a command called, what is the command? You have to run after creating this Node.js project. You have to run npm I TypeScript --- save -dev, or you can use npm init, npm install TypeScript capital D. You can run this npm I stands for install TypeScript --- save -dev, or npm install TypeScript. See, these commands are very, very important. Capital -d. Okay, right. Okay, right. So we are set up the TypeScript on top of the Node.js project like this. And you are going to execute the TypeScript file like this. First, you are creating the file name with the .ts, and then you are converting npx tsc, the file name. TSC stands for TypeScript compiler. And after conversion, it is generating .js file. And then you can execute the JS file with the node file name. That's it. This is the normal process. This is normal process. Okay. Right. So now, without creating without creating JS file, directly we can execute the program. How? How to execute TypeScript file without converting into JS. What are all the steps? So which library we have to install?
TSX.
Install TSX library. So npm I TSX, and then -d. npm I or npm install TSX -d. So after installing this library, then what you need to do? You have to execute npx tsx and then file name. File name means that TS file. So directly it executes the program. So this is for execution. This is for execution. Okay, so this is what we discussed. Okay, right. So now we'll continue the same basics.ts file. So what is type inference? What is type inference? What is meant by type inference? See, the type inference is a feature in the TypeScript that allows the compiler to automatically determine the type of variable or a function or an expression. See, in this example, you have given let x is equal to 5 or let x is equal to number. So here you are applying something like type annotation. What is meant by type annotation? Whenever you are creating a variable or an expression or a function, that time you need to represent what kind of data it is going to hold. Let's say here let x is equal to number. That means I am holding x value is a 10. That means you are telling that I am holding number. So that means at the time of creating a variable, you are representing what kind of variable it is, whether it is a number or a string or a boolean or any object type. So you are representing the data type. So that is called type annotation. What is meant by type annotation? At the time of declaring the variable or an expression or a function, there you need to specify the data type explicitly. So here x is equal to number. So here you are telling that x is a number type. I'm holding it. That is what you are telling that. So the way you are representing that is called type annotation. In the expression 2, I mean, let y is equal to 20. I did not mention any value. I did not mention any type. Sorry, I did not mention any type. If I don't specify any type, the TypeScript, what it does is, based on the value, it is going to decide what type it is. So here you have given 20. So the y value or y is considered as number. So here, based on the value, whatever you have given, based on that, the data type is decided. Okay. So now what I need to do is, I want to print what is the data type of this y. See, console.log. If I want to print the data type, here you have to use type of. There is a keyword called type of. Type of, here you can write type of x. This is the way you can write, or you can write like this, type of y. So this one you can write like this. Okay. So you can write this way or you can write this way, both the things. You can use any one. So using this type of operator, you can get that what is the data type of a particular variable. So the way you are assigning the value, based on that, the data type is decided. This is called type inference. What is meant by type inference? whenever you are creating a variable, based on the value, the data type is decided automatically. That is called type inference. What is a type annotation? At the time of creating a variable, you are providing the data type explicitly. That means you are telling what kind of data it is going to hold. Okay, that is called type annotation. So these are all the different ways to create the variables or functions or expressions under. Okay, so here normally you are giving like, while working with the Playwright, you are writing page.locator, and inside you are providing either XPath or what is it? Either XPath or CSS selector. And based on that, you are assigning to a variable. There are so many examples you did that, right? Let's say you are identifying one element like username. You are writing page.locator, and there inside you are giving like either XPath or CSS selector, and you are assigning to a variable like let username, something like that. You are writing it. So that username is what type?
String.
String.
String type.
Hey,
Which one? Can you come?
page.locator. Page.locator. Inside you are giving either XPath or CSS selector. Once locator method gets executed, what it returns?
Locator.
Right. So the locator, it returns locator type. If you are highlighting that variable, what it gives? It is giving, okay, this username is colon locator, like that it is giving end. So that means the username is what type? Locator type. Okay. So that means you did not specify username colon locator under. Internally, which concept you are following? Type annotation or type inference?
Time inference.
Type inference. Because
Yes.
you did not specify let username colon locator is equal to page.locator under. So
Yes.
page.locator, whenever you are writing this statement, after locator method gets executed, it returns locator object type. So that username is of what type? Locator type. So without explicitly saying that data type, based on the value, whatever the value it is assigned, it is decided what type it is and all. So that is called type inference. Normally, in case of Java, C, C++, how would you do that? You are writing like int y is equal to 20. That means you are specifying data type variable is equal to value. Like that you are going to specify. But in case of TypeScript, there are two ways to represent the variables. Here, one is with type annotation. The second thing is type inference. Type annotation means at the time of creating the variable, you are specifying what data type it is. In case of type inference, based on the value, it is decided what kind of data type it is. Okay, let us execute. So npx tsx basics. That is my file name, right? Okay. So for the x, the type is number. And similarly, for y is equal to type is equal to number. Okay, right. And similarly, if you try to print the type of Z, again, you will get number only. See, in case of JavaScript or TypeScript, integers are decimal values. They both are comes under number type. In case of Java, you have like integer, float, double, like that. But in case of JavaScript or TypeScript, they both are comes under number type. Okay, right. Okay. So now the next topic is you are declaring the variables in three different ways. You are declaring the variables in three different ways. Declaring variables. So how would you do? See, you can declare the variables. You can declare the variables in three ways. You can declare the variables in three ways. One is let const. Okay, before that, the first one is var. Say totally three ways to represent or to declare the variables in JavaScript and TypeScript. These are all the three different keywords: var, let, constant. From 1996 onwards, people are using var. Of course, still today, people are using this var. Var is the old keyword. Still, it is existing in the TypeScript and JavaScript. In 2016, in 2015, they have introduced a new version called ECMA 2016. That is the latest version of the JavaScript. In that version, they have introduced this let and constant. In that version, they have introduced this let and constant. Okay. So what are all the differences between var, let, and constant? So this is one of the a typical interview question. Sometimes some of the interview persons will ask this type of question. Okay. So what is the difference between var, let, and const? So let us see with practically. Right. Right. See, first let us see var. Var is the old way of declaring variables. Var is the old way of declaring the variables. Okay. Right. So first let us see in the form of table, then we will see the practical. If you remember that table so that it would be easy to answer it. Feature, feature, var, let, and const. Feature, var, let, const. Okay. See, where is old style? That means before ECMA 2016, people are using only with where only because that is the only one option. After 2016, they started using this let and constant. Okay. See, what is the scope? Scope of the where, let, and constant. What is the scope? Scope of the where. Scope of the where is functional scope. Scope of the where is functional, or sometimes people will call it as global scope. The scope, that means you can access the where variable up to the functional level. You can access the where up to the functional, up to the function. What about like let? Let is blocked scope. We'll see what is block and all this. And similarly, constant. This is also blocked. The scope of the where is functional. Let is blocked. For constant, it is blocked. Scope means visibility. Up to what level these variables are visible. Okay, right. So where is functional, let and constant both are blocked. Okay, next, redeclaration. Redeclaration. In case of where, yes, you can redeclare. You can redeclare the where related things. What about like let? Not allowed. Once you declare the variable, again, if you're trying to redeclare it, immediately it will tell you that, okay, already this variable is already defined or declared. Like that, it will tell you. So in case of let and constant, it is not allowed, and constant also not allowed. Constant also not allowed. So redeclaration, where it is allowed, let not allowed, and constant that is also not allowed. Next, reassignment. 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 Yes, it is allowed. In case of let, that is also allowed. But in case of constant, it is not allowed. Let x is equal to 10, then later x is equal to 30. Initially x is equal to 20. Later I am modifying x value to 30. It is allowed. Similarly, the same kind of situation is also allowed in the where also. But in case of constant, that is not allowed. Okay, we'll see practical. It is introduced. It is introduced in old JavaScript. That means in the 1996, this JavaScript came into market. So that time, this where is also there. It's old JS. This let and constant, they both are introduced in the latest version. We will call it as ES6 version. ES6 version. scope. And what about another feature? Hoisting. Hoisting is allowed only for var and functional expressions. Hoisting concept is allowed only for var and then functional expressions. For let and constant, not allowed.
So, sorry to interrupt. What is hosting?
You will come to know.
Okay.
Okay. See, while working on the project's point of view, we will not use this different kind of options. Normally, for the project point of view, how we need to implement the logic and then how we need to execute. Ultimately, whether we are getting proper output or not, that is what we will see. But internally, these are all the different kind of options. Which one it is supported, which one is not supported. Okay. So the difference between the var and let and constant. What is the difference? Scope wise, it is a functional scope. Let and constant, they both are blocked scope. The redeclaration is allowed in the var. For let and constant, it is not allowed. Reassignment, it is allowed for both var and let. Constant is not allowed. See, it is introduced in old JavaScript, and this let and constant they have introduced in latest version, that is ES6 version. This hoisting is allowed in the var, and let and constant they don't allow. They both are not allowing this let and constant. Okay, so let's see practically. Let me create another file name called variables.ts. Okay, right. See, var is a functional scope, can be redeclared. See, here I am using a keyword called var. X is equal to 10. X is equal to 10. Cannot redeclare blocked scope variable basics dot. Okay, because of this basics, it is showing, because in the same file, I mean, we already created, right? So that's why it is showing like this. Okay, let us take A. Let A is equal to 10. Let A is equal to 10. Now, can you tell me which concept I am applying? Type inference or type annotation?
Type inference.
Because I have given the value, based on that value, that type is decided. I did not mention explicitly a colon number and all. Now see, if you don't mention also, internally based on that value, it is decided what type it is. Number. Okay. See, a is equal to 10. Normally, if you take any programming language like C, C++, Java, or any programming language, once you declare and initialize the value, if you write the same statement, is it allowed? It will not allow any programming language. In the line number 1, where a is equal to 10, you declare the variable and initialize the value 10. What is meant by initialization? Initialization means
Assigning
You're
the
giving some value,
ah,
assigning some value.
so at the time of declaring the variable, you are assigning the value. That means you are assigning the first value to that variable. That is called initialization. So in the line number 1, where A is equal to 10, in the line number 2, the same statement, but different value. If you take any programming language, if you're trying to redeclare the same kind of variable, it will give you the compilation error like already A is declared. It cannot be duplicated. Like that, you will get the error message. But in case of where redeclaration is allowed. Redeclaration is allowed. So console.log, if you're trying to print what is the value of A?
20.
Huh?
20.
10.
10. See, whichever the latest expression value, that only it will take in the programming language. If you want to print a 10, this statement should be there in between 1 and 2. NPX, TSX, variables. Because this is the latest expression, right? So this is the value. So if you want to print a 10 also, you should print this statement after line number 1. So you are first declaring the variable. So here you are doing initialization. Initialization means you are providing A and then assigning the value. First you are declaring and then assigning the value. So that is initialization. In the line number 3, what you are doing? In the line number 3, what you are doing?
Reassigning the value.
Hey,
Re-
Reassigning.
Initialize. Reinitialize.
reassigning a redeclaration.
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 Redeclaration. Now tell me, A is equal to 30. Now this one, what you are doing?
Reassigning.
20.
Reassignment. Reassignment means after declaring and providing the value, again you are trying to modify the value under. So that is called reassignment. That means reassignment means you are trying to modify it. So now if you are trying to print the A value, the latest value of A is what? 30. So that's why you will get 30 under. So first is declaration and initialization. And the line number 3, you are taking care redeclaration. And line number 5, you are taking care reassignment. So in case of where redeclaration is allowed, reassignment is allowed, everything it is allowed. Both are permitted. Okay, right.
Sir, so here, if we want to print only the value 30 by removing the other two print statements, then it will print only 30, right?
Definitely. You are not printing. Say ultimately, whichever the latest one. So that only it will take. Initially, A is equal to 10. Now, the second thing is A is equal to 20. That means previous value 10 will be gone and then 20 will be coming into picture. Now, you are assigning one more value. That means you are trying to modify A block. Already 20 is there. Now you are providing 30. The 30 will replace the 21. That means 20 will replace by 30. So this is the latest value, right? The 30 will coming under. Okay, right. Next, what is this functional scope? Okay, so don't worry. So we will discuss about the functions concept in detail, but right now to talk about the scope is functional scope. So here I'm just defining a function. Let's say here I'm implementing a function called test. What is my function name? Function name is test. Like page.goto. Goto is function or a method. Page.locator. Locator, that is also a function or a method. So similarly, here you are defining a function. So this is called user defined function. User defined function means as a programmer, you are defining the function under. So at the time of defining the function, you are providing the name of the function. This is called named function. This is called named function. Okay. So we'll discuss about the different kind of functions and what is the use. So all those things and I will discuss it. But right now I'm defining a function. So to define the function, I'm using keyword called function keyword. And then this is the function name and then open bracket and close bracket. And within the curly braces, you are defining something. Okay, right. So here, if I'm just writing some simple logic, if true, console dot, okay, if true, okay, where a is equal to 5. Okay. Console.log here. This is the function I have implemented. If I want to execute this function, what shall I do?
Call the function.
You have implemented this function.
Yes.
If I want to use this function, then what shall I do? I have to
Call that function.
call that function. That means I have to invoke the function. See, you are writing page.goto method. What is the use of goto method? Using this goto method, you are opening the application on the browser. Did you implement goto method?
No.
It is implemented by Playwright guys.
Play.
They have implemented the functionality like this. As an automation test engineer, what you are doing? You are utilizing that function. If you want to utilize that function, how would you do that? You are writing like page.goto, and then there you are providing the URL. Similarly, you have implemented this function. If I want to utilize this function, then what shall I do? I have to call the function. Okay. So how to call this function? You have to provide the test name. That's it. So this is called calling the function. Whenever you are calling the function or whenever the program is trying to execute, first the cursor will come to this line. Okay. This guy is calling test function. Okay. Whenever it is trying to execute this function, it is looking for where is the definition of the function. Then it is looking for this definition. Now the cursor will go back to the line number 8, then it starts executing and then it performs the action. See, until you call the function, then there is no use of this function and all. See, you have implemented this function for reusability point of view. If you want to utilize that function, you have to call it. Whenever you are calling, that time only this function is going to execute. Okay. These are all the very, very basic fundamentals of any programming language. Okay. Now, see, you define this where variable where inside this if block. Inside this if block. How would you say it is block? If you are representing within the curly braces, that is called block. Right now you defined where keyword inside this if block. But you are trying to access this where outside the block. Yes or no? Where you are accessing, you are accessing outside the block. You are trying to access outside the block, but within the function only you are trying to access. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
See, so the scope of the where is up to this function, no matter where you are creating. Of course, you created this where variable inside this if block, but still you can access within the function only. So now output is
5.
5. You are getting. Suppose if you are giving instead of where, if you are giving let. If you are trying to give let.
Null. Nothing.
Why it is giving 30? Because you have written the program variables.ts and also already a value is 30, right? So because of that, okay, now I'll do one thing. Instead of this, what you are getting?
X is not defined.
So you are getting reference error. You defined let variable inside the block. Yes or no?
Yes.
But you are trying to access outside the block. So when it comes to like outside the block, the scope of the X is gone. That means
Inside the block only.
that time it is unable to understand what is this X. Of course, you define or you are trying to access inside the function. But where did you define this X? Inside the block, inside the curly braces. But you are trying to access outside the curly braces. That's why you are getting X is not defined. So what is the scope of the let?
Inside the block. Inside the block.
That means the scope of the block is block only. So if you are trying to write this statement inside the block, that time you can access it.
So we can call only local.
So you can say it is a local variable. So the scope is up to the block only. Up to the block means wherever you are creating inside the curly braces, the scope is visible up to that block only. Once you come out of that curly braces, the scope, that means the visibility is gone. Because where you can access anywhere within the function. But when it comes to like let and constant, similarly for the constant also the same situation. So instead of let, if you're trying to use constant also the same situation. If I'm trying to access again, you will get same reference error. X is not defined because the scope of the X is up to this block only. You cannot access outside the block. Scope is pointing to the visibility of the variable. Right. Similarly, in case of where, you can redeclare it, you can do reassignment, and the scope of the function, the scope of the where is up to the function level. Okay. The next is when it comes to like let, the scope is blocked scope only. The scope is blocked scope. Then what about like redeclaration and reassignment? Let's say here you are creating let p is equal to 100. You are declaring and initializing let p is equal to 100. If I am writing the same statement, p is equal to 200, is it allowed or not allowed?
No, P is not.
So see, cannot redeclare blocked scope variable p. That means once you declare this variable, the same type of variable, you cannot redeclare it. Because here you are using let. Let is, what is the scope?
Block.
Block. That's why it is telling that you cannot redeclare blocked scoped variable p and l. Because here you are using let and. So redeclaration is not allowed. That is what you are saying. It is not allowed. Reassignment, it is allowed. Let's say let p is equal to 100. If you want to modify, then it is reassignment. Reassignment, it is allowed. Reassignment, it is allowed. Like where. Similarly, for constant also. Constant q is equal to, let's say, 100 or let's say 500. If I'm trying to declare the same thing, constant q is equal to 600. Again, same kind of error. Cannot redeclare blocked scoped variable q. Okay. So I cannot do it like this. So assignment is allowed.
Yes.
Reassignment is allowed.
No, reassignment is not.
Reassignment is also not allowed. Cannot assign to q because it is a constant. What is the difference between variable and constant?
Variable you can change, but constant we cannot.
Right. So during execution of the program, variable values can be changed like this. Let p is equal to 100, p value can be modified. But when it comes to like a constant and all, once you declare and provide the value, later you can't change it. Initially, I have created a variable called q, which is of type constant. I am providing 500. Later, if I want to change the Q value, I cannot do it. Why? Because Q is constant. So constant means throughout the program execution, the value will be fixed. It is not going to change it. So if you want to make a variable as the fixed one, you can use this a keyword called constant. So whenever you try to use const, it becomes like a constant and later the value cannot be modified. So that's why reassignment is also not allowed. Reassignment is also not allowed. So if you say this, reassignment, where allowed, let is also allowed, and in case of constant, it is not allowed. Okay, right. Next, what is hoisting? This is one of the typical interview question. Generally, most of the guys, people will not ask, but I told you, some of the different interview persons will ask this type of questions. So what is hoisting? Hoisting means bringing a variable to the top level. So what is this? Hoisting is allowed for var and functional expressions. Okay, so this is one of the a typical interview question. What is meant by hoisting? Hoisting means moving variable and function declarations to the top of their scope before code execution. Okay, so first let me write this point. Moving variables, moving variables and function expressions, sorry, not function declarations, to the top of their scope of the variable. Okay, so let us see practically, then you will come to know. So console.log, here I am writing R. Next, where R is equal to 20. Where R is equal to 20. Actually, this concept is not supporting in the TypeScript because TypeScript is type safety, right? So to explain this concept, I have to use JavaScript. Okay. So now what I'll do is I'll try to create one more simple file, hoisting.js. Because whenever you are writing this statement, immediately it is giving compilation issue. Right. See, without declaring a variable in any programming language, without declaring a variable in any programming like C, C++, Java or anything, can you print the value?
No.
That is not at all possible. In the line number 1, you are printing it. Later, what you are doing? You are initializing. Actually, normally, you are going to write the statements in the reverse order. But in the line number 1, first you are printing it, then later you are
De-
declaring and assigning the value. So can you tell me what is the output of this program?
20.
So
Yes,
I
yes,
want,
sir.
so first tell me how to execute this program. It is JavaScript file,
CMD.
.js file. Huh? It is .js file.
Directly we can execute against
Ah.
node.
So there is no
Node.
compilation process under. Directly you can execute. How to execute the command? So
Node
here node and then hoisting. That's it.
file. Yes.
It's no hoisting.js, right? Extension is not required. Now see. This statement, it is printing undefined. Let's say in case of JavaScript and TypeScript, you declare the variable. If you don't assign any value, by default, it is printing undefined. Let's say you created variable called R. If you don't assign any value, you will get the default value is undefined. In the line number 1 also, it is printing undefined. Actually, it is illegal in case of C, C++, Java, and even including in the TypeScript also, it is not allowed. But in case of JavaScript, that is allowed because of hoisting concept. What is happening in case of hoisting? See, you are moving a variable. Okay, here we are not working with functions. Okay, leave it about. So you are moving a variable to the top of their scope. That means before executing the code, how it is going to do is, though you have written the statement later, at the time of executing, this where or it is bringing to the top. Internally, this where or it is bringing to the top. That means what happened? Where R is there? Yes or no?
Yes.
So you are declaring the variable, then later you are printing. So since you don't provide any value, so default what it is printing? Undefined. This concept is called hoisting and all. So this hoisting is applicable to the where. So you declare here directly you are printing. Later you declared a variable with where. So at the time of executing, what it will do is it will bring this variable to the top and then it is executing. So since the declaration is at the top, later it is printing. So by default, it is printing undefined under. See, later you declared and provide the value. It is not going to worry about the value, whatever you assign. The type is there or not. The type. Let's say if you're trying to use let us execute. Cannot access or before initialization. What it is saying, you are trying to print R value before declaration. Like C++, Java, how it is treated. Similarly, same with the let and constant, the same thing. See, but what is happening is, even let and constant also, they're trying to do the same thing. But what happened is, this let and constant, they both are stuck in one memory area called temporary dead zone area. So, like where, those are also will be trying to do hoisting and all. But at the time of executing, those let and constant related variables, they are present at the one temporary dead zone area. In that dead zone area, we can't access it. Because of that, let and constant are not allowed. With where it is allowed. For let and constant, hoisting is supported, but you can't access it because of they are present at the temporary dead zone area, TDZ area and all. Okay, so JavaScript reads declaration first before executing the code. So hoisting with where? JavaScript internally changes the code like this. How? First where R, then console A, then later A is equal to 20 or whatever it is. Like this, it is going to execute. But hoisting with let, what happened? If you're trying to write instead of where, if you're writing with let, you will get reference error. You will get reference error. Why? Let is also hoisted. That means that is also trying to bring to the top, but it stays in a memory area called temporal dead zone area until the declaration line is executed. So that's why you are getting reference error. So for the TDZ, for the let and constant, you will get reference error. You will get reference error. Constant is also like hoisted. That means you are bringing the variable to the top, but they won't execute. You can't access it. Why? Because they are present at a TDZ, temporal dead zone area. And because of that, you won't see the error and all. You won't see the output. But in case of where it is not present at TDZ area, so that's why you are getting output is undefined data. Okay, so these things and all for the subject point of view, for the interview point of view, you can learn it and all. But normally we will not apply this type of concepts while working on the projects and all. Okay, so where hoisted, you can access it before declaration. Yes. Let, you can hoist it. That means you can bring that variable to the top before execution, but you cannot access it. You will get reference error because they are present at a TDZ area. Similarly, const, the same, hoisted, and you can't access it. No reference, you can't access it. Again, you will get reference error. Function declaration, yes, you can hoist it and you can access it like where and all. You can access it like where. Okay, so what is meant by hoisting in simple language? Hoisting means JavaScript moves variable and function declarations to the top of their scope before executing the code. Before executing the code, they are bringing to the top of their variables. at top of the scope. Okay. So that is hoisting. So the hoisting concept, it is not supported in, sorry, the thing is, it is supported in all the variables let, var, and constant. But the only thing is you can't access in the let and constant. For the var and functional expressions, sorry, functional declarations, you can access it under. So how it is treated, how is they are going to work? Let's say if you are trying to execute this program, you are getting undefined. So internally, how it is executing? So at the time of executing, first it will write like this, where are, the next is, it is printing the statement. Now AR is equal to 20. So like this. Now this code will be executed, right? Yes or no? So no, perfect. So internally, the code executes like this. So in case of var, in case of let and constant, that is also they're trying to bring it, but you can't access it because they are present at the TDZ area, temporal dead zone area. Because of that, you can't access it and all. That's why in simple language to understand it, for the let and constant, this hoisting is not applicable. You can say like this. Okay. So that is the difference between var, let, and constant. This is one of the famous interview question. Nobody is going to ask in any programming language, how would you declare a variables and all. But you are going to see this type of question in case of JavaScript and TypeScript. Why? Because there is a difference. There is a difference between var, let, and const. So while working with Playwright programming, very frequently people are trying to use this let and constant. Of course, you can use var also, not a problem. But since these two are the blocked scope variables, it has more security than comparing with var. So that's why people are using this let and const. Okay, that's it. Clear? Any doubts?
Sir, one doubt. We are calling the test method in the same file, na, sir. So if you want the same, the test method calling the same file, so no need to declaration. The directive will be execute now. Like there is no main block to call the test method. So directly it won't be execute function test.
You are writing page dot. You are writing page dot go to. Go to method is implemented somewhere by Playwright guys. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Then where you are calling?
I mean, if you have main block for execution purpose, we are calling that method in the main block. So there is no main block. No?
In case of C, C++, those things and all, they are maintaining like main method.
Okay, sir.
The Playwright test runner method, you are using like test function, right?
Yes.
You are writing test function, right? So for
Yes.
the Playwright point of view, the test function is the main function.
Okay.
Okay, that is they are using main function.
Yes.
Okay, so from the main function, the program executes. But while working with the Playwright test runner approach, test function is the your main function, because inside the test function only you are writing under. So you can treat a test function is the main function. See, whenever you are working with the standalone approach, that too in the Java programming, there you are using main function under. But once you start working with the frameworks like JUnit or TestNG or maybe Spring Boot, something else, there you don't have like main function under. Okay. So
Okay.
normally for the standalone programs, for simple programs and simple development of the standalone programs, those guys, they are using this main function. Okay, whenever you start using like frameworks, they don't have this main functions under.
Okay.
Instead of that, they're trying to maintain different kind of annotations. If you are using like TestNG, there you are using @test, before
Yes.
class, before test, like that. So similarly, here also we are trying to use. Now here,
So
what,
this test, yes, sir.
here
No,
also,
this test method we can call other file also. Right? This test method we can call in other file also.
test method is representing a test case implementation. You cannot write
Okay.
the test method in another test case, because test method itself is designed for the to implement the test case. You can call the methods which you defined inside the test method. You have implemented so many scenarios. So in the test method, whatever you have implemented, let's say you have implemented like all links scenario. Will you call test all links scenario inside the specific links scenario?
No.
That is not possible. See, assuming that main function, if you want to call it in another function, that is not possible, because the main function itself is designed for the starting point. So similarly,
Okay,
you
okay.
treat like this. You treat like this. See here, in case of Playwright, you don't have such kind of like main method or something like this. Those are all like high level programming language like C, C++, Java, those things and all. They're trying to maintain it, because to execute those programs, we need a starting point. What is that starting point? Main method. But in case of
Yes.
Playwright test runner, the starting point itself is the test method.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Right. Any others? Right. Chalo.